Ladies and gentlemen, I have reported here on News for Reasonable People about homeless encampments with illegal metal shops operating in the middle of the night. I have talked about homeless encampments with swimming pools and lounging areas. I've even talked about a homeless encampment with a tent for about 20 people that they could go in there and shenanigans, if you know what I mean. But now, the city of Denver has elevated their homeless encampment game to another level. We are talking about a homeless camp that features pop-up bar with rentable prostitution tents. Why wouldn't we have that? Let's get into it. Here we go. I mean, this is empowering stuff for the homeless. This is, we're supporting small business here. I mean, this is some groundbreaking stuff, right? It's Shangri-La for the down and out. Get you guys going here. It's Shangri-La for the down and out. This is where we start. A decked out open air tavern for the homeless that also rents out tents for prostitution has popped up in downtown Denver, according to police. The police know about it. Councilman knows about it. Just like, oh, yeah, I drove by that on my way to work. I mean, what? This is what happens when you allow this kind of stuff to just, it's okay. They'll be fine. They're just down on their luck. Give them a tent. It'll be good. Now they're using that same tent to run a bordello. I mean, it's so ridiculous. The pop-up Speakeasy, which features lounge chairs, umbrellas, and astroturf. I mean, who doesn't need to have astroturf in their homeless encampment speakeasy? I mean, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. It's taken over the sidewalk at 23rd and Champa streets, which the city's growing homeless population has turned into an encampment. Here's a nice photo of it. I mean, this is a pretty decent chair here. I mean, that's a nice wood chair with, well, I mean, it's got a little tear in the upholstery here, but you just can't be too picky when, you've got prostitution and drugs going on around you. Yeah, things get they get a little out of hand at times. You don't want to have the good stuff here, right? You want to have the good stuff in the tent because that's where you're renting it out to ladies to do their whatever it is and get paid. Then they can come right back out and hit up some more fentanyl. This is strong. This is Americana right here. We're getting somewhere. Now look at the bottles that are lined up. We've even got like a whiskey barrel over there. All right, guys, let's bring that barrel in because this looks good on the sidewalk. You are not able to traverse this sidewalk. You got to go way out in the street, right? That's a big tent. Look at this. I mean, you've got floor coverings. You've got tables. You've got more tents. You've got guys back here just doing God knows what, selling God knows what. Ladies selling their dignity. I mean, what a mess. We're hearing there was an open bar, sales of alcohol, things like that. Do you think they had a permit? Do they have their serving license? Was there any food? Did they have a food handling permit? I mean, I know Denver's got some crazy homeless stuff going on, but I assume they have laws there, right, that prohibit this kind of thing, especially in downtown on the sidewalk of a public street. I don't know. This is some willy-nilly shenanigans going on here, right? That's a double whammy, by the way. Denver Police Patrol Division Chief Aaron Sanchez told CBS Colorado. He told this while serving the Tent City Saloon Monday. Surveying. He wasn't serving in the saloon. Don't want you to get the idea that law enforcement is, doing a celebrity bar session. Who was it the other day? It was Matt Damon. He did a session at a bar. He just comes in. He's bartender when he was a kid. He's like, yeah, I'll sling some drinks. Why not? Maybe you have the man in blue in Denver. Yeah, sure. I'll crack some bottles open. Why not? While surveying the Tent City Saloon. Tent City Saloon. I mean, they should have a sign for that, right? We have officers looking into that. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you've got more than officers looking into it. I'm sure you've got a lot of people going by and what are they doing? Oh, hey now. What? Good Lord. What does this look like at night? This looks like a party, right? I mean, you might have some STDs involved. Yeah, you don't have a license for your liquor sales, so there's that. There's no tax being collected on any of the business, opportunities going on here. But, innovation sometimes takes different paths, doesn't it? Yeah. We really need to support small business more. City officials have received numerous complaints about the encampment blocking the sidewalk, forcing pedestrians to walk in the street to pass the block. Walking on the sidewalk relative to the amount of crime going on in those tents is probably the least of my concerns, but I get it. You're walking downtown and you got to go through this crap all the time. Imagine kids like going somewhere. What's going on in there, Mom? Johnny, look straight ahead. Do not look over at that encampment. There's stuff going on there you don't need to see. But Mom, hey, no buts, right? There's some. One of the tents appeared to have been transformed into a speakeasy, complete with numerous couches, rugs, and tables. If your tent doesn't have a good rug, if your tent encampment doesn't have some tables to lay out your wares and just really display what you've got going on, because it's all about the visual presentation, right? When you come into an encampment that has a speakeasy, you want to see what you're getting into. What are you going to be spending your money on? Does this make sense? Are there other opportunities where you could spend your money elsewhere that, maybe you get a better deal elsewhere on your, I'm sure it's legally obtained booze, right? This isn't stolen stuff, is it? Is it? Oh man, I don't know. So we got rugs, we got tables. Here's the display with a bunch, I believe, are these capped? It's hard to see on here. But I heard that I'd read elsewhere that these were all used bottles. Most of the stuff they're displaying, they've got like a thing in the back where all the good stuff is, and you can. Hey, you got Johnny Law coming. Let's hide that stuff. See, these are empty bottles. It's my understanding. If they're not, it's hard to see. The picture is fuzzy, but you got Crown Royal going on there, right? You got the good stuff here, right? There we go. Okay. So here, and even still, you got a bunch of bottles, but does Denver have a bottle deposit? I know Oregon has like 10 cents for a can, or they had at one time. Here in the state of Washington, we used to have that too. I used to collect bottles when I was a kid. And why wouldn't you? You get a bunch of them. Your family goes through a bunch of whatever. And I'll take those to the recycler. You get a few bucks. It's not bad. In fact, I did a podcast on Portland where the homeless were buying cases of water with their EBT card, with their state supplied food card. And then they were turning the bottles in for 10 cents a pop. So a case, you get $2.40. Do a handful of those. You got your next fentanyl dose right there. That is ingenuity as well. You got to think outside the box if you want to live a life of crime, because crime does pay, and it's paying well, right? When you can put together a speakeasy, you're onto something. You've really got something going. The spot was littered with dozens of liquor bottles, all of which were empty and displayed proudly on thrifted dressers, and bookcases when police rolled through earlier this week. Nothing to see here, folks. No sirree. This is not a speakeasy. There is nothing weird going on here. We just got some tents. We're just punkered down, enjoying the late summer, early fall weather. We might tip back a few of our legally obtained liquor, of course. There's nothing going on here. There have been complaints that the couches at the street side bar and surrounding tents are being rented out for prostitution. Oh, man. That's an accusation. That's an accusation that I need to see backed up, firsthand. What's going on there? And what are you doing in there? Oh, Megan Shea, an executive at Homeless Aid Group, Step Denver, Step on Denver, told CBS she noticed the apparent bar herself during one of her morning drives to work. That is, that's something, right? I talk about the homeless encampment that just got swept through Governor Inslee's sweep whatever program that spent $143 million, getting 126 people out of the homeless encampment situation. Yep. Sweeping like 1,200 people, total, and 126 get out of the homeless deal. $1.2 million or $1.1 million per person that exits the homeless encampment deal. And it's just insanity. We had one encampment where, a dead body, somebody'd been murdered, dead bodies just rotting away, 80,000 Seattleites driving by on Mercer Street. Nothing to see here. It's all fine. And this is literally out in the open, right? Out in the open. You got the same homeless encampment I just talked about had a tiny home built in it. No permits, no nothing. Yeah, I found all the materials in the dumpster. Uh-huh. You get good stuff in the dumpster in downtown Seattle. Who knew, right? Oh, yeah, I've built stuff from there too. Yeah. The tents are reportedly being rented out for prostitution. Oh, that's not good. She said an encampment serving liquor to the unhoused would only exacerbate the city's homeless problem, citing a report claiming over 80% of the homeless have experienced lifetime alcohol and or drug problems. Yeah. Of course. Drugs, alcohol, prostitution, all this stuff goes together. I think we are way, way past. They're just people down on their luck. And everybody knows it's just full of crime, full of people being taken advantage of, women being victimized and human trafficked all day long. We know this is the case. We know this is what's going on in the homeless encampments, right? A 2022 report on street mortality showed that drugs and alcohol were the cause of 60% of homeless deaths, Shea said. Well, I mean, that's not the uplifting end to this article that I wanted. I didn't want to talk about death. I wanted to talk about, we've got a speakeasy going on. Whenever I think about speakeasy, I think about all the movies I've seen where that's a thing. During the Prohibition, I've been wild to just be there and see that and experience what that was like. All right. So booze is no longer legal. All right. Okay. Kind of like, drugs are quasi legal in areas, more legal in Denver, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, LA. How's that working out? How is that working out? Yeah. Like we said, this is just going to exacerbate the problem. We know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows this stuff is stolen. That's why this is just, it's much of the same, but it's just so ridiculous that we allow it to happen. This should never happen. In what world should this be happening? It's okay. They're good people. Well, I mean, prostitution is illegal. Stealing from stores and then selling it on the sidewalk is still a little illegal. But you know what? The homeless folks, we're going to let it pass. We're going to give them a hall pass. We're actually, we're going to check up on them and make sure that they got everything they need to operate efficiently. You need a new tent. It's going to get cold in Denver here pretty soon. You need some blankets. You need some clean needles. You need some, you need any food. You need any water. What can we do how can we help you help us help you? This is ridiculous, right? This is just absolutely preposterous. And everybody knows it. And this is what we're doing in 2023. This is what we're doing. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't this happen? Right? What can you even say? There is nothing you can say other than shut her down, move on to the next one. Shut her down, move on to the next one. I talk a lot about what's happening in Seattle. I talk a lot about what's happening in Portland. I point this way because that's where Portland is. Seattle is right up over there. Skyline is literally right that direction. And, California way over there. Vancouver, BC, way up there. But I talk a lot about, stuff that's going on in these cities. Denver has a pretty aggressive homeless encampment problem as well. And the situations we're seeing are the same. They're same across the country. Areas that have decriminalized drugs, areas that have defunded their police, areas that don't have enough cops. This is the stuff that's going on. In San Francisco, you've got a battle between, the former mayor, who is now the governor, Gavin Newsom. He's getting involved because the federal court has said it's illegal to sweep the encampments because sometimes people lose their cell phones, their wallets, and their medication after they've been given 25 straight warnings and notices that their encampment's going to be, cleared out, but they're so whacked out on drugs that they can't seem to get their stuff together into a duffel bag and get it out of Dodge before the dumpster arrives and before the, backhoe starts just clearing stuff out and the city workers just take stuff out. Nah, some knucklehead federal judge, the Fifth Circuit, told folks in San Francisco, you can't do that. You can't sweep out the encampments. So right now in San Francisco, this kind of stuff is just being allowed to proliferate because there's nothing to stop that from happening. There's no sweeps going on. I mean, talk about a city just, taking it right in the behind. I'm sure this will be fine. We need to really be concerned about the homeless and their cell phones and wallets and medication, right? I'm not saying you just want to trample on these people, but there's something called personal responsibility, accountability. If you've been told enough times that, hey, you're living illegally in this encampment, and you know what? We've got, we've had reports of, gunfire, reports of prostitution, reports of stolen goods. And by the looks of it, looks like you guys got about 100 cars back in there in various stages of being ripped apart. So I'm going to go with you got some auto theft and some theft of other stuff. Is that a bicycle that's just been all stripped? Oh, that's multiple bicycles. Yeah. We're seeing that more here in Bellevue. We're seeing bike parts. We're seeing bike frames. We're seeing stolen bikes because the homeless ride their bikes between the homeless shelter and wherever their tent is located, right? And then they push their stuff with the shopping carts. If you want to let that stuff go, this is what you end up with. You end up with a speakeasy on your sidewalk with a little bit of prostitution, It's nutty, right? But why would you expect anything else? I mean, if there's no repercussions for your actions, crime does pay. I mean, look at this. Look at the infrastructure they've built. I mean, without a permit, these guys are on to something, right? I mean, it's a pop-up speakeasy with, illegal activity going on. Wild stuff. If you see these kind of storylines, make sure you send them to me because these are gems. These are gems of what's going on in the United States that should never have been allowed to happen in the first place. And yet, here I am, some real estate guy reporting on it from Seattle going, look at these jokers. It's what we're doing. It's 2023. It's what we're doing. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.